Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul
They're gonna run out of cheeseheads soon!
The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, about now, about now, about now.
What is poppin', y'all? It is man Cloudboy Bales, and welcome to another episode of Wisco Sports Weekly. Today's episode, we are talking about the Brewers. I have not touched on them. They obviously got bounced out of the playoffs about a month ago by the Arizona Diamondbacks. The curse lived on, and they ended up going to the World Series. They end up losing to the Texas Rangers, as they should have, because, let's be real, I don't think the Diamondbacks should have made it this far, but I guess that's baseball for you. So, weird how that stuff works. But anyways, this was just one of those unfortunate things. Again, I don't think it was, the hitting was bad, I don't think, it was just miscues and common sense. I think they just got ahead of themselves and they lost. I mean, there were so many times in that series that it just was unfortunate business. And they left people stranded on base. They got so many out of double plays, and there were so many chances for us to take points, knowing that we were really a hot team at that point. And I think we obviously were facing one of the best defensive teams in the league. And that was a very good point. When I said, I don't want to face Arizona because I feel like they probably will beat us. And I knew that was the case. Obviously, this video is going to address the offseason because officially, the offseason officially begins with the World Series concluding last night. But the big news that's going on this offseason, and obviously the big news that, is shaking our minds and thinking to us Brewer fans, what do we do? The thing about it is, Craig Counsell, he is the greatest manager we've probably ever had. And if I'm being, perfectly honest, I don't know what we physically would do without him. And who would replace him, is a huge question. And as a Brewers fan, it's having these last about, 8 years? 8 years with him as our manager. I think making the playoffs 5 times and all this amazing other stuff. I partially think, what would we do? We had a lot of things going for us. I know there's some things in the postseason that might have been not the greatest, but it could be a huge loss if he doesn't come back. And I think a lot of people will start to realize that if we get a new manager and things aren't going so good. So far, Craig Counsell has done a couple interviews, one with the Mets, one with the Guardians. Obviously, no words on what's happening with that so far. But again, anything could happen. I think this season really depends on what happens with Counsell. Now, of course, the big thing that we obviously have to talk about is the 2024 free agency season. Not this year, but next year. There are 3 guys that, of course, are going to be free agents that year. Corbin Burnes, Brandon Woodruff, and Willy Adames. Of course, Corbin Burnes, I said this would likely, I think that game, I think that this is it for Burns. I think he's going to be on another team this season. With everything that happened with him, pretty much Atanasio has a case for him not getting any money in his arbitration hearing or whatever, and he's just going to want out. There's no way I could see Burns being a Brewer at the start of the season. It's a completely low chance. That's how it is. Brandon Woodruff, on the other hand, of course, we all know that playoff injury happened where he injured his throwing shoulder, and unfortunately, it required surgery, and now he is going to likely be out all of next year. There's a possibility because of how things have gone, with rehabbing and stuff. He could be back maybe in the summer, but because things have happened, things have changed in sports, but that's a huge blow because I think a lot of people were thinking, if this season is down in the dumps, we trade Woodruff and get a lot too. And now that's not even a possibility. Now I get Woodruff loves it here in Milwaukee, and I would feel sad if he left, but I don't know. And then finally, Willy Adames. I said last year I thought they were going to give him an extension, but last year just kind of was a down year when it came to his hitting percentages. Just couldn't really hit the balls much. I mean, he led the team with home runs and stuff, but he was always struggling to really get ahead of 200 the last two seasons, and he hasn't really played up to what he expected to be. I feel like he can be better, and he's a great guy, but you never know what'll happen. And I think that's the most important possibility. Free agents this offseason. Obviously, a lot of these guys, my assumption is they're not coming back. Maybe they will, but I don't necessarily think that there's a reason why any of these guys will come back. So, according to Adam McCalvy today, there are 6 free agents that fell off the roster. Catcher Victor Carantini, third baseman Josh Donaldson, right-handed pitcher Colin Rea, first baseman Darren Ruff, first baseman Carlos Santana, and outfielder / designated hitter Jesse Winker. The 49 roster is now at 34. That's that. The only other guy, obviously, Mark Canha, is the only one that we traded for that has an option on his deal. So, with that being said, likely he could decide, I want my option, I want to stay in Milwaukee. He could definitely do that, and I feel like keeping him would definitely be a good help, because I think this team is supposed to be relatively young next year, and that is obviously something huge. The outfield, I think, is our biggest strength. Having Mitchell, Yelich, Frelick, Chorio eventually coming in, also Tyron Taylor, Canha, if he decides to come. I mean, our outfield is very strong. Willy Adames at shortstop. You have Contreras at catcher. You got Terang at second base. The only position that seems to be a stalemate is first base. And obviously you're likely losing Carlos Santana. Now, he could re-sign a cheap deal, and that'd be great. But first base is a huge priority. And that's obviously because Rowdy Tellez really did struggle this season, had a really great year. The following year, leading the team with 35 home runs. And this year, he was just going through injuries. He had a good first 2 months. After that, he just couldn't do anything. He was dealing with an injury in his arm. Now, I get that too, but he had a really down year. So I feel like the thing you could say is you can't expect Rowdy to be that guy, especially he is also a free agent in 2024. So pretty much it's like a long shot anyways. At third base, I feel like this is where Tyler Black is going to start at third base next season. But going into this, there are a lot of prospects that are going to likely debut next season. Jackson Chourio is one name that we all know is going to be, he's likely going to be the number one prospect at some point next season. My hope is he comes in. I really can't wait to see what he does. Broken all the records at Biloxi and all the AA records of all time, and that's all that. Tyler Black was also the best player on AAA this season. Really dominated and showed why he could be a good third baseman. I'm not necessarily saying he's going to be like a dynamite guy, but I think he could definitely be a great third baseman. He also plays first as well. But it's great to see what he does. And Jefferson Cuero will likely be our backup catcher unless we re-sign Caratini. It's very possible, but it will I want him to get some opportunities. And then also some pitchers. Josh Gosser. Wait, no, I said Robert Gosser. I said Josh Gosser. I'm thinking of the basketball player. Robert Gosser and Jacob Mizorowski. Absolute, both of these guys showed that they have potential to be both starting pitchers in a rotation right now. I mean, I was thinking maybe relief, but now I'm thinking they're going to be starters, as seen. Gosser has been playing fantastic in AAA all season. I can't wait to see. I'm assuming Gosser will be on the team next season. Mizorowski might be called up. I'll see it depends what they do. I don't know. But a lineup next season, I mean, depending on what I think will be the case, I think they should definitely sign a first baseman. If I had to pick, I'd say let's go with Rhys Hoskins. I think, with him getting that injury out of Philly, I feel like he kind of sustainably got the injury. He was out all season, and I think, Philly kind of moved on from that point because I think they're starting Bryce Harper now at first base, and I think there's no reason why Rhys could even stick around. It's just kind of useless, and he's, older. I think it's a smarter move. He still shows that he has power. I think it'd be a great move. But, yet again, you gotta really rely on these prospects: Frelick, Mitchell, Weimer, Chourio, Terang, Contreras, Cuero, Black. It's a young team. I mean, Terang, I mean, this is a young team. There's a lot of potential that they have. Now, I'm not necessarily saying our pitching is going to be good, because the thing is, likely if this is it, no more Corbin Burns, you're going to get a lot of prospects likely for him. Woodruff likely out for all the season. Your pitching is going to be like Freddie Peralta, Adrian Hauser. Oh, Aaron Ashby's back. That's another thing. And two, it's like you got to think about some pitchers. I mean, maybe they could re-sign Colin Ray because he actually did decent for us this season. Wade Miley, definitely you could re-sign because he did decent for us this season. And I feel like that would be smart. Getting those guys, maybe Lauer, who had a really down season last year, comes back to form. Obviously, they tried releasing him, but they designated for him assignment, but literally no one wanted him, so they outrighted him to AAA. So obviously his decision comes if he wants to stick around, then he becomes. But literally, I don't think anyone is interested in him. So that really just says everything. He could definitely rebound or something. I mean, our bullpen I think is fine. Having Williams as the closer, Payams, Peguero, Hoby Milner, that 20-year-old dude that's really good. What's his name? Uribe. We have a good bullpen. I'm not worried about that. I mean, the starting rotation might be a little weak because of where we're at, but I think this season really rides on what happens with Craig Counsell. Hopefully we get news soon now that it is officially that point in the season. I trust in Matt Arnold to make some good moves. But we'll see what happens. So if you like what you see, comment below, subscribe with your thoughts, and as always, we will see you next time. Go Brewers.